Welcome to the Americana Bistro Grill. I'm your host, Roberto Alvarez-Galloso, serving you the best in Americana and country music. 40 years ago, while living in Venezuela, I was having like what they call separation anxiety. I was fearful for the future. I was graduating from high school. I also had some family members that were leaving, escaping a dictatorship, and they were undergoing a lot of hell, and that sort of tormented me. But somehow, somehow in the middle of everything, I was in a restaurant, and I went to a jukebox, and I heard the song of a beautiful, beautiful lady from Texas, which after hearing her, I think if I could remember, of course, 40 years ago, who could remember anything? But I do remember the sweet sound voice, and it sounded like Carousel. And I felt better. Later on, I went back to Venezuela for Christmas vacation in 1980. I lived there, I did my high school there, even though I was born in America in Ohio. And during that time, I dated a girl from Texas. I think she was from San Antonio or Austin. But this is like maybe 1 or 2 days, because this is like, she was here, she was visiting Venezuela, and then she was going to leave in about 5 days. And we heard the same song. And this beautiful lady who sang, her name was Catherine Dawn. I have the pleasure of having her here. Number one, I want to congratulate you, because your music has saved me in 1980. And history repeated itself when I got divorced in 2011 with my own wife and daughter. Doing democratic elections and saying out. And of course, I respect the will of the majority and left. And it was your singing that also helped me put my life back together, along with other artists from Texas. And I was able to remarry, but to another sweetheart. I want to thank you, Kay, for coming to the interview. I'm just holding back my emotions here. And also for your singing, and also for helping me in my worst times. The reason why I wanted to interview you was simply to talk about your career. You've had a long career. And we wanted to know how it got started, and the past, the present, and what do you expect from the future? Talk about all of your successes.
Well, first let me thank you for connecting so many years ago. The connection that you made with me then was huge for me as well, with encouragement and inspiration to know that, wow, something that I created in 1980, by 81, 82, it mattered.
It did.
I knew that there was really good jukebox distribution. That record, the song Carousel, was written by Larry Nolan Jr. And rest in peace, his father, Larry Nolan Sr., just passed away. He's known as the Bandera Cowboy. He and his brother Laddie, we were in a band called Carousel. Mm-hmm. And that song became the A side of a 45 RPM. The other side was a song called It Doesn't Matter to Me. And it was written by myself and the two Doyle brothers. They're twins, and they were in the band Carousel. But I got an opportunity to make that record by a dear friend of my mother's, Mr. Lyle Atkins, who rest in peace also. And he loved my mother so much when they were in high school that when he called and got in contact to see how I was and what had become of me, because the last time he'd seen me, I was 2 years old in an airport saying goodbye to him with my mom. And he considered that I was 1% his. So he wanted to do something special for my 21st birthday. And he got in contact with a dear friend of his, Smokey Montgomery, in Dallas at Summit Studios there. And I was just beside myself. You find out how much all this stuff costs when you're a songwriter and performing and you want to make a record, and you find out how much it is, and then you got to have your distribution, and you've got to have all these things. And if you don't get signed to a record label and you find yourself as an independent, which is what I've been mentored to do my whole career, so that was really special for him to offer that, and it was a wonderful experience. So to know that all that mattered, and he told me he was going to give us a great jukebox distribution contract. And I said, well, what jukeboxes will it be on? He said, I'm going to get them on every jukebox I can possibly find. Like, I'm just taking them worldwide. And I was like, worldwide? Well, we didn't have World Wide Web yet.
Of course.
So to me, I was like, wow, so my record might end up in another country. And he said, if they've got a jukebox, I'm going to get it on there. So that's how you heard it. It was on there.
I heard it. And we're talking about Venezuela before today. Venezuela right now is a disaster. But at the time when I was there, when I was living there, they tried to mix socialism with democracy. Unfortunately, I'm not going to go into that experiment. What I do know was that there were many record companies, and even though they had restrictions at that time, because they're like toying with the whole thing, I was still able to somehow, in some small town, I don't even remember, I was able to hear Carousel. And I was like, I was graduating, I was like very worried about the future. Graduating from high school. What will be ahead of me? Plus the fact that I was hearing about my relatives leaving Cuba during the Mariel boat lift.
Well, the lyrics to that song are very deep.
And I was like, even though I have not yet gone to Cuba because my insurance company doesn't cover my trip, doesn't cover a trip to Cuba, I was worried. And somehow, the song Carousel sort of softened things up. I had the melody with me a long time ago, and I felt a lot better.
I have some exciting news to share with you about that. I myself took it to a San Antonio record company. I point that way because it's that way from where I'm sitting. I'm in Bernie, Texas. Born and raised in San Antonio. I had 545 records pressed for myself. And I found 5 of them recently in the bottom of the original box that they came in. So I need your address, and I'm going to mail you your own personal 45 RPM.
Beautiful.
That was on that spot.
I will interview you. After the interview, I will give you my address. And then,
okay.
the weird part also is when I returned for Christmas vacation in 1980. This is 1980. I had graduated and I went to the university, and then I decided to go back during Christmas vacation to see all of my old classmates. And it was there that I met another girl. She was from Texas. Again, I don't know if she was from San Antonio or Austin, but she was there on vacation. She was also from the same school. No, I lie. She was from the rival school, but we sort of like dated 2 times because this is nothing serious. This is not like I had with my first wife and now my second wife. This is like a 2-date, 3-date fling. Like, well, let's be together during Christmas and have time. Just spend time. The milkshakes, the whole bit. And we came to the same restaurant, milkshakes, the whole bit, and I heard the same Carousel. I remember like it was yesterday. Both of us were in jeans and t-shirt, and I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna deny that I had a great time. In fact, the waiters left both of us alone. But there was just one of those things like hello, enjoy, and then goodbye. We went our separate ways. But
you heard that song again.
I heard the song, and the feeling is still there. And
Climb aboard the carousel. We will give them hell.
and then last but not least, the year 2011. I didn't hear Carousel. I heard other songs from in 2011. I think it was the B-side, but most likely it was the one called San Marcos River. I was recovering from a very, very bitter divorce. It's not easy.
No.
It's not easy. When your ex-wife tells you to leave, fine. When your ex-wife and your daughter have like what they call free elections in the house, and they say, we're going to have free elections. We want you to go. Like Meatloaf said, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. But in this case, 2 out of 3 is a majority vote, and if the majority rules, you have to leave.
Intense. That's heavy. Intense.
So before I remarried, my present wife was my former girlfriend in Puerto Rico, in the Dominican Republic, and we were like very close. And I used to hear San Marcos River, and I used to hear all of your songs that I could listen to on the cell phone and the computer. And while driving in a place called Chrome Avenue. Chrome Avenue is the very rural area of Miami, where there are the bars, the taverns, the gasoline stations, the truck stations. Just simply to clean up my mind. I heard your music. I heard Vanessa Peters' music, and I also heard Rod Stewart, The First Cut is the Deepest. Because at least Rod Stewart, when he says the first cut is the deepest, he sort of makes it like, it's not that bad, it's going to get better.
Right.
And I saw a lot of old friends along the way too. Some of them were in high school. No, they weren't drunk or anything. They were just visiting, and they were saying, get your act together. And thanks to your song, and thanks to other singer-songwriters of Texas, and of course, Rod Stewart's The First Cut is the Deepest, I'm back.
Music heals. I can't remember a time when I didn't understand and I wasn't aware that I was a musician, like I was a singer, songwriter. I can't remember when I didn't, like, it wasn't a choice. It just really wasn't a choice. The earliest memory that I do have, I lost a manager at one point that booked a radio show for me to do. And the DJ asked me if I remembered the first song I ever wrote and why. And I told him the truth. I told him that I remember very clearly having a supernatural experience at about the age 3 or 4. And I was told, you will sing and music will heal. Just do your best and keep singing and keep writing songs and keep sharing music with people. I remember that. It happened. Even if somebody can say that it was something I imagined as a child, I remember it. It happened.
You never imagined anything.
Wasn't bad advice. So that's just what I remember. And the first song that I ever wrote was called I'll Never Forget That Nod, N-O-D, nod. And I proceeded, he said, do you remember it? And I said, of course I remember it. I wrote it when I was 8, almost 9 years old. And I sang it, and it's about seeing and accepting Jesus Christ. And I was walking along the seashore, all tired and blue, and then I looked across the sea and saw the bright, bright, bright moon. I looked a little closer, and I saw someone standing there. For who could this be walking across the sea? The image came a little closer, and I saw his outstretched arms. And then he spoke, I've come to give you no harm, for I've come to give you peace and love. for all men to hear. And if you obey my rules, I'll use you as my tool. For I am Jesus Christ the Lord, the blessed Son of God. And then all I thought to do was to give a nod. The manager quit, fired himself. He said, you've totally blown your whole career. You cannot go on live radio and give stories like that. You cannot express yourself like that if you want to stay neutral and not be judged and criticized for what you're doing. And I said, sir, with all due respect, I'm very grateful with what you've done. I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was along those lines. And I let him know that I appreciated him quitting because I would have fired him. Because how can you say to a person that has written a song at 8, 9 years old that is of that, and then you're expected to lie about it? And then you're expected to be shamed or hidden with your beliefs as an artist? I said, no. I'm glad this happened because I don't want someone like you representing me. And it was shocking. The DJ loved it. He loved it.
I love the poem too. I loved it too so much.
I got a lot of messages.
So much that you just earned yourself multiple invitations to my show. I don't know why someone could say something like that, because number one, an artist has to be truthful. They can't be. If you want lies, go to the big cities or something.
Right. I think it was just his. I think it moved him spiritually. I think it made him wonder. It was definitely a moment. So when you ask when did your career start, that's when it started. Like that first song, because I remember finishing it, and my mom had a guest over, and they were at the table drinking coffee, and I said, I wrote a song. Would you like to hear it? And they were both in just tears. They were so emotionally affected by it, and I thought, wow, this music stuff is really cool.
No, I'm affected with the words.
Feel better without exposing what's wrong. I can connect with people like this, and so that's really when the career started. So then it was Dawn sing for us. My grandparents were part of a camper club called the Good Sam Camper Club, and I'm so glad my grandma took a picture of that, because that was my first paid "We Want You to Sing for Us" performance, and it was for a gospel brunch for the campers. And that's when it started. I mean, I realize now that it naturally kind of showed me the ropes, so to speak, before I met all my other mentors. My Uncle Carl Davis was my biggest influence besides my grandmother in church music. And I went to a private school for a while, and Sister Edward was the nun that was music teacher. So she had me playing classical guitar at the masses. She was always wanting me to become a Catholic, and I told her I don't know how to do that, because I'm just a musician. I just want to play in the church. So those two influenced me quite a bit. My Uncle Carl played with a group called the Mad Mods. Mm-hmm. And they made it all the way to American Bandstand. He told me early on, though, you're a girl. So you might want to just really think about yourself as an independent artist, no matter what. It's not always a good thing to get signed to a record label. It's not always a good thing to be beholding to companies that are part of a bigger machine. Mm-hmm. May be asked to do things that are not really required of you. They wouldn't ask you to do it if you were a male artist. They will be asking you if you are a female artist.
Yeah, I've heard
And
it.
I
Been
thought
there, done
that was
that.
for movie stars. You know, I thought I heard of the producer's couch and things, and I thought that was movie stars, kind of, you know. I never thought about it as musicians. And he told me early on, don't be so anxious to play bars and places like that until you are quite aware that you are there to be used. So be very careful how you get used. So I learned that early on, and I turned down 3 major record label contracts after Carousel was pressed and the jukebox distribution started. And I turned down 3 of them because my uncle looked at it and he talked to some people and he said, no, she's too young. She's too young. Give us a developmental deal. You want to develop her, and she can see how the company works and develops her, and y'all can see if she's worth developing, if she can go into that. But no releasing, no, we're going to make you this and do this and do that. Mm-hmm. No, because she doesn't even know what she is as an artist. And she needs to continue to be a songwriter. You know, she's a singer and a performer because she loves to do that. But we've discouraged her to play a lot of cover tunes and just become an entertainment band. Mm-hmm. So I really had some really strong mentors early on. Big Bill Lister, he was Hank Williams Sr.'s very best friend. They played the Opry together. They went fishing together. They were very, very tight friends. And he lived in Bernie, and I went to school with his son. He was in my class. So he was one of the few young men that I had met that was a musician, you know, that was really well and came from a musical family, and his dad. So his dad really took me under his wing and taught me a lot. And then the neighbor we had, Jenny Lawrence, she had a song book about this thick. It was this huge black binder. It looked like a lawyer's binder. And it was in all these plastic sleeves, you know, typed out the lyrics and the chords and everything. And she came over to and talked to my parents, and I was 12 at the time. And she said, I would like Dawn to be a duet act with me. And she looked like Loretta Lynn. You know, she had the matching rhinestone, blingy polyester suits and all that. And she had quite a long dance hall, country music review kind of career. And she wanted me to be a duet. And she said, we're going to learn these songs right here in this book. And she met my Uncle Carl, and they talked, and it was because of her that I started learning all these traditional songs. You know, before then it was just gospel music and what I heard on, you know, the records, because I'd go to the record store and listen in the booths. Mm-hmm. Do you remember when we?
Yeah, I remember those.
Rhonda Records in San Antonio had the nicest little booths, and my mom would go shopping, and she'd just leave me there in that booth, and I would just discover all these people. Petula Clark.
Yeah, I heard the same thing, not only in the jukeboxes, but I also remember the earphones and the records, the earphones.
Yeah,
I remember those.
Yeah.
I remember those in all the states that I've been here, which I'm not going to number because we have 50 states.
Right.
In Europe, Dominican Republic, there was a street called El Conde where they had all the record companies, and you could put over the ears and everything. And in Venezuela, which record company?
I can tell. I bet you one of those guys that you had those headphones on for so long, your ears were sore.
Yes. Yes. I would spend hours in most of these record companies. They allowed you to listen to the music before you buy it. But even then, I'd buy it anyway.
But my uncle told me early on, the tape doesn't lie. Record yourself. and listen back to it. The tape does a lot. So I got really aggressive with cassettes. And I didn't realize till years later when I took engineering courses at studios that I had started multi-tracking before I knew what multi-tracking was. I had 3 cassette recorders. And I'd record what I wanted, and then I'd push the next one and push play on that one and play with it. And then I'd play the 3rd cassette with the 1st and the 2nd cassette playing with me playing with it. So to make these layers of music, those are good times.
I know.
I've hung on to a lot of that equipment, and I homeschooled our children, and they knew how to work all that stuff before they knew about anything else. Yeah. I wanted them to understand where it came from.
Yeah, I had the CDs, not the CDs, but I had the cassettes, the reel-to-reels, the vinyls. I have the CDs, yeah. But it's not the same. It's not the same, the CDs.
No. And I understand that VCR tape and cassette tapes have a longer live show than CDs do.
Mm-hmm.
Than CDs do.
Yeah, I know.
The tape longer.
Since we've talked about the past and the present, for the present, have you done any concerts recently, or plan to do any concerts in the future?
No, I had to cancel the day of national emergency on March 13th.
Yeah.
And that was going to be my return solo gig in 3 years. In September of 2016, I almost passed out cold on stage. I got like vertigo and just displacement. At the moment, I looked at the rest of the players on stage, and I didn't even realize kind of what song we were playing. It was almost like milliseconds of, who are these people? Where am I? What's going on? Just total cognitive something. I know now that for me, honestly, it was truly Papa God telling me, don't want you on stage right now. I want you home. I want you to deal with other things. It's time to get some new experiences for some new material to write about. You know, I don't want you in the public right now. So I started to learn and take on quite a few challenges with my past history that I can see now that music kept me, you know, purging any kind of emotional buildup. You know, as long as I stayed in rehearsal and stayed writing and stayed active, I was moving forward. But you can listen to all my songs and you can hear the whole story of my life, because I was told very early on, write what you know and don't lie. And you will relate to people.
And you did.
And just tell the truth. Tell the truth. You know? And write what you know about. Don't write about anything you don't know about.
Of course.
So you hear those songs up to that point, and it's, yeah. I even heard songs, I mean, to like get really personal, how much it can affect, and how I've seen proven that subliminally as a songwriter that you're writing about this stuff and telling, and you don't even realize you're really telling about it because it's so far recessed in your memories because it was too traumatic that you don't even realize you're writing about it. I'm a very big advocate on people healing from past trauma. I think that that when people say, "Oh, it was in the past, let it go," I don't buy that. I think that's bullshit with a double T. You've got to know what you're letting go of. You can't let go of something you don't understand. So, almost 36 years later, and this was 2 days before I passed out. So in 2016, it had been 36 years, I received this random email of a family member that I had that was a predator, that I could never talk to anybody about. It was so far recessed that I was like, why would you even think that way? That didn't happen to you. That didn't happen. There's no way that could have happened. So, there's always a process, serendipity, consequence, coincidence, whatever you want to call it. But the process was that I got taken away from the public eye. I was dealing with some personal issues. And here comes this email of a girl in the neighborhood of where this family member lived. And she said, I just wanted to tell you how much San Marcos River Girl, that song that you wrote, I'm so glad that you were able to tell for us. I know that's what you wrote that song about. I know you wrote that about them. And I'm like, I don't understand. You wrote that song about what happened to us. Conversation went more, the emails went back and forth, and she totally exposed. I took that information and delved into it and realized that's exactly what that song was about. So my subconscious and my memories, my suppressed memories, were sharing that information with me, telling the story, exposing it, and I didn't even realize it until it was exposed by someone else.
Before we leave, Kathy, because what I'm going to do is, after we leave, I'm going to give you my address. How do you see the future of Americana music? Rock and country.
The future of Americana music. And when you say Americana, you mean like roots music, original roots music?
I'm meaning roots, country, rock.
Yeah, that's kind of what they call it now, Americana.
Yeah.
I always thought of Americana as folk.
That too. That too.
Kind of folk, but now it's kind of all delved into one. I think it's all gospel. It's all songs. It's all gospel.
That means you have a great future. Hallelujah.
Right. There's different aspects with it. I don't think that the only changes that will happen as far as the writing and the production and the creation of the music is going to be up to the artist, and that has never changed. That'll never change. The changes that happen with the human being are what's going to affect their art. Art imitates life. So I don't see that changing. I don't see, unless we see people change a whole lot. As far as the way we do it and the way we share it, that's definitely recently taken a big wow. Like, remember the Don McLean song, American Pie?
Oh yeah, I remember. Bye, Miss American Pie. I'm not a good singer.
So that's kind of like, wow, are we in American Pie? This is what's happening. The day the music died, is that what's going on? But you can't stop stuff like that. So I see it helping out a lot of the older independent artists. This deal with Spotify that Joe Rogan got signed, multi-million-dollar contract with Spotify for podcasting on Spotify. Not too happy about that. Where's the sacred platform for the music? Like, what's gonna stay? I remember MySpace. I was on MySpace. In fact, did we connect on MySpace?
We connected in two areas. We connected in MySpace, but we also connected in the Texas Music Awards. I think it was with
Yes.
Boyd.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember
Yes.
him because at that time, I connected with you. Let me see if my memory is still around. I connected with you.
Okay.
I connected with John Arthur Martinez. I connected with Vanessa Peters. I connected with Jessica Shepard.
Yeah.
And no, Karen Chisholm, I connected with her later. But I connected with
Yeah.
these four, and I also connected with Deanne Renee.
Yes.
It was during.
And then it was explosion time when we did Texas Ladybugs.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
I remember the Texas Ladybugs.
Oh my gosh.
I heard you all in the Texas Ladybugs when I was driving up and down on Chrome Avenue. It put a big smile on my face.
There's going to be another Texas Ladybugs. There will be another whole thing.
We
of
hope to
Texas
see you
Ladybugs.
with another Texas
But-
Ladybugs.
but- Yeah, to answer your question though, I think the format that we have everybody, going online and doing their shows online and sharing like that, something like this has helped us all see that it can be done because you really don't have a choice right now.
Mhm.
I was researching long before to do things online because I wanted to get more homebound with things so that the shows that I did go play would be really large and have some effort behind it. I wanted to do like Mama's Musicians that happens every Mother's Day as a celebration of music and mothers, and kind of do that annually. I'd hope to maybe start that this year, but we had plans change. But I see that changing. I don't see how record companies are going to be able to hold on to all this independent power. I just don't see. It's going to be at another level that it's always been at. It's going to be really hard to mix and match, I call it watering your roots. To stay local and to stay regional and to